Hi guys. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm saying that this is potentially a time for us to start buying some altcoins. Okay, those altcoins that we sold a few months ago. So, and in a preparation for a next leg up. Now, there is no guarantees with these kind of things, so it's always wise to have a look at what happens if we're wrong, because we're going to be entering the market in a state of fear and uncertainty. So there's always that little voice in the back of your head that's going to say, is this truly going to happen? Is this the case? And so forth. So if we look at Bitcoin, and just to start off with, I mean, this is a very simple graphic to start off with. If you look at Bitcoin from a seasonality point of view on the screen there, you'll see that, in around February, March time, that's typically when there is a bit of a stall, a flush or recreation. And it historically leading up to April, for the last few years, it is rosy. There is a little bit more upside. So that is definitely something I think we just need to keep in the back of our heads going forward. Now, I want to remind you about this analysis. This is the time and take profit expectation analysis for the bull market. And the simplest way to look at this is as follows. If we take away the time track, if you take away all the TA, this is Bitcoin big picture. And the argument is that Bitcoin has not really seen a bear market. But we can clearly argue that there is, as it's maturing, a loss in momentum as the gains, if you were to measure this on each higher high, is getting less. Okay. And every time we do create that higher high, there is divergence on the RSI. Okay, you can see the RSI is trending down lower. So yes, there is potentially, a crazy, outlandish side, a scenario where this could happen. But it's too soon to even think about those. But it's just wise to always know that you cannot act investment or crypto-wise in a situation that you can tell me with a 100% surety, what the future is going to bring. But doing a study of the past gives us a good picture of what the future should be, because people are creatures of habit, and they are creatures driven by primal instincts. And something like fear is a really good example. It happens to everybody in the same way. And typically, it's fair to assume if there's fear in the market, it's going to move in the market in a similar fashion. And that's why technical analysis works for the majority of the time. So if we look at this chart, we mark out all the all-time highs. You can clearly see, as I said, each step higher is a little less in gains. So it could be that this is a scenario, and we could double top this as well. And that be the end of the bull market. But how do we know when to say that? Because now this is all good and dandy, but we don't have that information. And that's when I look at the price from a halving point of view as well. So I'm saying, okay, each cycle from its inception to its first halving, second halving, third and fourth halving, there should be a trend in there somewhere. And that trend is the time analysis, okay? And it's very simple. You take a normal time-based FIB. So you can find it under the FIB tools, and it's this time FIB zone tool, okay? And then all that I want to do is just look at the following two time slots. Now I'm getting TradingView giving me nothing again. So I'm clicking on the button. Nothing is happening. Come on, TradingView. Catch a wake up with this. Okay. There we go. Finally, it's there. No, it's giving me something else. Let's try it one more time. There we go. So I'm looking at the 38.2 and I'm looking at the 618. So if I start playing with this, just to kind of track where we're at, and I say, well, if this is the beginning of time and this is the first halving where there was a significant on-chain difference or change for Bitcoin, meaning the amount of coins, Bitcoin is still inflationary. There's new coins being released every 10 minutes with each block, okay? So that speed of inflation reduces by 50% each time, okay? So when we look at this, there's not a lot of TA. I mean, Bitstamp didn't exist at that stage. So, it's really hard to kind of time this, but I went back to historical charts and found that the all-time high is around 39. And yeah, so the first one is probably the biggest outlier. But when I start moving this on to the first halving, to the second halving, You can see that around the 38.2, we were topping out. Remember, this is now insane gates, 15,000%. And around the 618, we're bottoming. And if you're an investor looking to time bull market tops and bull market bottoms, you know, for the adoption for Bitcoin, that is nearest enough a really good gauge. I mean, that's 66% more Bitcoin if you get that run right. Okay. And leading this onto the second halving and the third halving, between second and third halving, you can see that this now becomes really evident that around the 38.2 and the 618 top bottom in time zone. Halving 3 to 4, our most recent halving, top bottom. So it's fair to assume if I then go and have a look at where halving 5 is going to be, okay, somewhere in 2028. This is roughly 4 years, because it's 4 years roughly, okay. So if we look at this is halving 5. So if you look at it like that, and we apply that same time analysis, it means that we still have a little bit of time to be patient, okay? Really patient, okay? So try and remember this when we look at buying the bottom as well, because I'm saying that we're in a situation where we could buy back, but it doesn't mean that it has to happen today, because from where this is and where we're at, there's still, what, 182 days, okay? Crazy run like that, we might still have, but we need to accumulate. Okay, now let's move on because I want to get to the alts. Okay, in the dark today. Well, let's maybe talk comments real quick. How many guys are you? Very few viewerships at the moment. I have to admit, I've been slacking on the HODL stream content due to the nature for the last 4 weeks, we're exactly where we're at, you know, so it's not much to talk about. But yes, it's very hot, so I've got the curtains drawn because there's just glass everywhere and the sun is shining, so I'll be cooked alive here. Hello, Firestorm. Hello, Yuri and Mess Sabaf. Hello to you as well, and then PJ102. Can you have a look at the dominance? Yes, we can look at the dominance. And it's actually part of the list. Okay, so if there's anything else, guys, drop it now in the comments and the questions, because the end of the stream I will double back and see what you guys have you know, said or requested. It's at this stage where I just want to do a friendly reminder. Content's brought to you through Bybit, guys. If you want to be part of my private community in the Discord, you can either outright buy your access. It's a once-off fee and you're in forever. Or you can use the Bybit partnership, okay, to grant you access to the live trading with me, the trading buddy, as well as a few other integrated tools that's in the Discord, the divergence scanner, the automated buy-sell signals, does what we do with the bot, everything by just opening your Bybit account, funding it, and doing KYC. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay. I would actually say you need to actually use it, but there it is. There's the conditions. Okay. So that's it. Now let's get moving on. Let's talk about this little chart here. Okay. So when we talk about bottoms and the time to buy, it means that from a point of view, you know, if you look at this, we may be there, but when is a really good time to buy is when you've got structure and a good analysis, and really good buys from a timing point of view. And this is now very squished, but it means that the market will sell off and stay, consolidate, build a structure. So if that is the case for most good bottoms, the question is, you know, it's not really the time to buy, because where's the structure? But this is the part that what I'm trying to point towards, okay? That if this is truly the time to buy or getting back in, what we could potentially see is a test of the range lows and a test to 74. And that would be buying some shakeout, meaning that we might be doing something like this and then sweep a low, create strong bullish divergence. We need it on the weekly. We don't have that on the weekly yet. And on the weekly, if that does still go there, we will potentially also go a little bit lower and create hidden bullish divergence, which is what we need. We need price to go there and the RSI to make a lower low, which we don't have. But now, like what I want to try and point to is that we've got the beginnings of structure, which makes it easy for me to say time to buy, because we can start speculating where the next buy area could be. Okay, makes sense. Hope that is some, I won't say financial advice because I cannot provide any financial advice, but all that I can do is share my thoughts and opinions on how I navigate the market and how I would go about to try and get in. Now, talk about time to buy. Where we're at right now is we're in the imbalance zone on the point and figure chart. Now, I use my point and figure chart to navigate the highs and lows. And the crux of the chart is once the market sells off and creates a little gap, and the way that it shows up is, like that and like that and like that. Okay. When you have gaps like this, the market will most of the time come and fill that gap before it moves on. So the fact that we had this gap, it's now being filled, and probably it's going to want to try and move on. And the best case scenario, first buy area, where if Bitcoin is in that zone, I would consider buying some alts, would be right there at 80,000. Okay, so no more doomsdays. Okay, if we do go lower, yes, that 74, 71 is going to come quickly. But for now, this is the area where I would suggest consider buying some alts, looking at the structure. Okay, looking at the CME side of things, Bitcoin CME at the top, you can see that we have now filled the CME. So yet again, we have finished the unfinished business. Okay, so if the market wants to run down and make a lower low, that would be accepted, or actually I would almost well received from my point of view, because the odds that we're going to go make a lower low and the RSI stay higher is good. So we could get another helping of strong bullish divergence, which would help turn the tide. So I'm really optimistic, to be honest with you guys. Talking about the dominance, however, the dominance at this stage is still trending upwards, and we're at the bottom of the dominance side. So if Bitcoin wants to shake everything out and sell off a little bit higher, which has been the strongest performing asset, Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin loses value and the dominance still goes up, it tells you that the alts are losing more value. But because the alts are so oversold, this could potentially be yet again another shakeout, but the alts don't bleed so hard, giving us a little bit of a dominance kick. Okay, until the dominance breaks trend and reverses completely. I mean, there we had hope for a moment. I mean, December things were really looking good, but until the dominance breaks through and really, I would say, fall below those areas. So you can almost look at that as support for not being in alts. Okay, that's what that line almost means, or support for not to try and be too early to buy back your alts. Means that as long as the dominance stays above 60%, your alts particularly won't outperform Bitcoin. So you can rather try and buy BTC for the next leg and then wait for the alts to, in general, all trend up nice and strong and the dominance break down. Now, when the dominance breaks down, I think, if, when, and buts, it's going to be a really good run, because there's a lot of market cap on Bitcoin side. And, there's a lot of room for the dominance to retrace to and can still remain bullish long-term to help ease or support the big Bitcoin adoption that we're looking at here. I mean, so there's still a lot of upside there. Okay. And, right. And so that's kind of where I'm at with the dominance. Now, let's quickly take just a quick look on the legacy side of things, because although we don't really, I'm not so much so a legacy trader, forex trader, or gold or S&Ps or anything like that. I tend to focus on Bitcoin, try and do one thing well better than to try and meddle with everything. But the TA around that, typically always remains the same. So if we look at the Dixie at this stage, you can see, and maybe what I need to do is just do this and that, and make sure that I've got the right dollar Dixie here, because it is not showing any of the TA. Where's this all? Let's just load the right one. There we go, and let's say which one. There we go. I'm going to have to go and look at which one it is, but it's besides the point. So what we have here, this actually clean view could give us a little bit more clear insight. And I think, yeah, this is not the right one. It's capital.com. There we go. Okay, so the Dixie has been trending up. And as long as that happens, it means that money is still not too sure about a risk on assets, Bitcoin, stock markets. And funny enough, everything has been trending up. So it's just compounding to that uncertainty in a way. And Bitcoin really performs well when this Dixie sells off. So if we can find a scenario where we now made a high, we've have divergence, we need to fall below this pivot at 103. So if you were to trade this, you would say, okay, right, as long as we stay above, I mean, we can use those levels there because that's where the real divergence is at. So as long as we stay above 98, the Dixie remains bullish. And, you know, while this thing can still chop, this is monthly time frame analysis, we can still have crazy 2 months of green in Bitcoin and crypto. The bigger picture is still not quite there for us. And remember the larger analysis, there's still a lot of time before we top out. So maybe Bitcoin tops out at 104, never gets to 120, which was where my expectation is. But we go and revisit that range. The Dixie kind of supports that narrative that there is a potential that could still trend back down to support. We visit Bitcoin all-time high levels. The odds do really well. Bull market ends, that's it. And then the Dixie makes yet another higher high. Remember, this is always going to be engineered by the US and by news media to kind of drive sentiment around this. So you can almost use this as a real good sentiment indicator as well, in effect. Okay, so there is still room for a little pump or a good pump for Bitcoin while the Dixie still finds its feet to just go and visit recent support. Okay, so over to the alts now. And I hope that this makes sense. So guys, this is the area where I'm going to ask each and one of you guys to just give me a 999 in the comments. 1, 2, 3, 2 999s. Just to kind of see if you're all on the same page. 999, I'm going to do it with a question mark. And you guys are going to reply to me and tell me whether this is, if you're on the same page. Okay. Those tuning in from my Twitter, guys, if you're on Twitter page, do exactly the same. Tweet or retweet or do me a 999. I see the 9s coming through. Thanks so much, guys. Okay, so you're on the same page. This, though, however, means, hello, Mr. Pac-Man. This, though, however, means that we need to ask and see if I can give you a fair enough, a highly accurate answer to the question, is it time to buy back alts then? Okay, so let's start with Ethereum. So as you can see, RSI is the best tool, I think, because it's always leading in a way. It tells you what the physical buying is happening. You can do a lot of things, but you can't lie about who's buying. Is the whales buying, or is the whales not buying? And we do have strong bullish divergence on the daily for Ethereum. So just like the last time we had that up until the point that it got deleted, you know, you have to almost be a little bit optimistic, knowing that there will be some resistance at $2,500. So for me, Ethereum is in a buy zone, and it's also in an investment zone, as I shared with everybody in my private group. It is in the investment analysis there. And any upward move to about 2,500 from where we're at would be really good. Have we made a higher high, though? No. So where we're at this moment corresponds with the fact that I think Bitcoin is going to sell off slightly first. Okay, because Bitcoin's in a sell zone, and Ethereum has also moved into a situation where it's got hidden bearish divergence, and that is a continuation of the current trend. Trend is bearish. Okay, so you've got hidden bearish divergence on Ethereum, which means, is it time to buy? Yes, I would consider buying Ethereum if you don't have any at these lows here. And the strategy I will use is the Strat 2 strategy, which means try and get in around 1,850 on a secondary test, because the market could find itself in there like a flash crash, a flash dump or something like that, and then rally onwards. Now, this is an investment, not financial advice, but an investment idea. So remember, there's no stops. I'm buying and owning the thing. If you want a leverage trade, head over to the trading side in the Discord. There we trade. There it's all about making money. Here it's about owning the physical asset for the long term. Okay. Cardano, we can quickly have a look at Cardano, and then I'll take some requests. I see the first one that is requested is Arweave. So anything else, let me know in the comments. Okay. Let's see. Yuri, only 99. So let's quickly have a look at Cardano. So Cardano, you know, like I said, there's a little bit of a uncertainty in the way that it's printed, but that demand, if we move into a flash crash, could hold. But the scary part is, because there's such a big gap here, it could fair well go and sweep that low and fall into this area. So I won't be grabbing Cardano just yet, because I don't have enough structure to, you know, with the fact that I can say I'll put my money behind it. And it's purely because of this. Okay. Any guys on Twitter? I see we've already got Superverse coming in from Twitter. Those Twitter guys, let me know. Let me know what you want me to chart. Okay, so I would stay away from that. I would rather look at something at this stage that shows me that there is a potential. Okay, let's have a look at DOT. DOT is doing exactly what Ethereum is doing. Now, think about it. Look at where we're at. Big sell-off, building a base. RSI starts trending up. Price is not trending up. Okay, turns around. What happens when it turns around? We need to reclaim the original pivot. So once we start reclaiming that pivot, the market started moving in. And this instance was so violent and fast, it just went, okay? So where we're at now, we're doing very similar from a fractal point of view, very loose-like fractal point of view. The same thing, sell-off. We're secondary testing now, okay? We could potentially go into this green zone later on this month, leading up to. There would be another test at some stage just to turn wherever this pivot is. You can see there's the pivot, okay, $4.40 into support. And I would consider then to grab some DOT. Now, the speculator in me, the trader in me says that might be a good trade. The investor in me would say we're in a range-bound environment. And the rule is you're bullish at the bottom of the range. So I'm going to mark it out as support. And you're bearish at the top of the range. I'm going to mark it out as resistance. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to try and trade where the majority of traders would be or investors would be entering, and that is there. Because once it goes from $4 back to $3, there's going to be a hell of a lot of scared people. Ways that you can help is you can use the buddy indicator. So I'm just going to switch on the buddy indicator. And I'm going to use its sentiment tool that's built into it. So I'm not going to show any of the strategies. Let's hide all the strategies. Just override the candles and tell me what kind of trend analysis we're at. And you can see that buddy indicator is saying that we're in an accumulation phase. It's printing the candles orange. Okay. If you want to read up a little bit more, you can go to the trade guide if you've got the buddy indicator, and there you can read up about the ranges. There's an introduction there. So it tells you when we're orange, what does it mean, how the market's going to react, and what you should, on a very short basis, what you should be doing and thinking. So the buddy is kind of spot on with that. And you get that when you sign up with Bybit as well, guys. So as a reward, you know, you one hand, another hand, simple as that. Okay. So let's move on and look at some of your requests. I'm going to start off with the first request that came for today. And let's just, it was Arweave. So I'll load Arweave for you guys real quick. Let's see if I've got it already charted here in my list. And while I do that, I'm going to probably go over coins that, let's just see, I can't find it. Let's do Super. I think this is Super. And then I'll do Arweave now, because then I can find it. Superverse. You know, I think this is the right one. The first thing that I would want to say is, you know, that's where we sold. That's where I want to buy. We're still above it. We're making a lower low in price, lower low on the RSI. Not ready yet. Can this thing pump? Yes. Super can go as high as $1 again, but I would only really look at it there. Simple as that. Okay, let's get your R weave. I mean, I saw the thing. It needs to be here. You can see that I didn't do the stream a lot because even I can't remember where all my coins are listed in my crazy long list here. So let's do it the other way. I'm going to do crypto, and then we'll do Bybit. So I'm going to just sources. Don't worry. I'm just going to go spot. So there's just a few less. And let's see. I think it's charted on Bybit. There we go. Right. Okay, R-Reef. So it's exactly the same kind of scariness that we're experiencing with everything there. So you've got a long accumulation. You had a nice breakout. From a market sentiment point of view, if you look at the way that the emotional market cycle happens, you can say if you use this as a print, you already answer your question about R-Reef, okay? And it means that where we are now is we're moving into an area where I first want to see whether this thing's accumulating. There was times for buys, okay, and they played out nicely, but those times have gone. R-Reef for me is a pass on it now. Until Bitcoin and Ethereum turns around and everything else, I'm not going to touch R-Reef. It's as simple as that, in my opinion. Okay, let's look at ENA. If I can find it. There we go. I found it. ENA is in the reinvestment zone. It doesn't necessarily mean it's bullish and it's going to pump. I'm going to scale the time frame down to daily. And you can see the RSI is starting to trend up, although price is not trending up. So the bears are losing momentum here. This was the original get out if you bought any of the highs, if you were in a bad position. So it's not trading. This is you're owning the asset, okay? So where we're moving in now, we could potentially see a nice little spike still. Takes this back to 70. Because this area, this critical support zone that's here, I'm going to change this to yellow so we can just see that. Maybe even red for that. I feel like red today. Okay, this area here needs to get tested at some stage. So the buy for this one would consider that. And the reason I would say I will actually grab ENA as opposed to R-Weave is the following. We're in that stressed environment. So if the market wants to respond now, it's the most cheapest cost to add risk to your portfolio at the moment. Because you're going to look at this and say, right, maybe I've got $1,000 I want to drop in here. Great. Take $250, maybe $300 and chuck it in there. Boom. Leave the rest in USDT. Because if this thing's going to turn bullish, what does it do? It makes a higher high. Always, anything does make a higher high. Wait for the higher high. Then comes another dip. Then inevitably, there will always be another dip. That's a higher low, i.e. now you're trending up. Then you throw the rest in. So that if this thing is wrong and tomorrow the market dumps, it falls through its ass, and this thing goes to 20 cents, okay, you're losing out on $300, not on everything, and the bulk of your buying power is still sitting in there. That's it. And for the rest, if you're still in it and you're waiting for the exit, you still wait. It's simple. You wait. That's the cost of not taking profit in that sense. Because now it's futile. You've already lost. Profit. Why did we take profit on this one? Well, there was enough, and I did a lot of streams on this. People didn't want to watch my streams because it was bull market. Everybody was bullish, and I was saying to get out, get out. So then it doesn't make for good viewing. But there's your strong bearish divergence. Okay. And there's price falling below the pivot. There and there. Immediately. That's weakness. Get out. Okay. Let's go on. Let's see what else we've got here. Edu asking for say. Maybe let's double back. Make sure I don't miss somebody. I'm gonna do Ondo. Let's do Ondo. NDO. Okay. A buddy indicator is telling you that this thing is in an accumulation phase, which is good. So it's not trending bearish anymore. RSI is telling you that this thing is getting to a point where the bears are losing momentum. That's good. Big picture wise, this thing is in a massive wedge. Now, we've seen this with OP. We could potentially break through this wedge and then shoot up all the way there. And that would be nice. So for that argument or that reason, one can argue, hey, maybe it's worthwhile taking a stab at Ondo. Another way to look at this is when we look at a big breakout and an entire move from an emotional point of view, from disbelief all the way to euphoria. Statistically, the fib that I use is my investment long-term fib reload. And we're right in that area. So these fib levels are putting us right in that area where accumulations should take effect. So Buddy's telling you that's there. I'm seeing the beginnings of the accumulation. The RSI is telling you that the bears are losing momentum here. The market's turning upwards, although price is not there yet. So it's undervalued and cheap, which is what we always like. So Ondo is probably a really good buy. Now, say you've got Ondo and you're in a situation where you may be underwater with it. Ondo is going to hit a lot of resistance around to this area. So I would use that as my action zone. That means rebalance my position. Okay, so you've got maybe 1,000 Ondo there. When you're there, sell 30% because we'll probably test some sort of support area and then you buy back. If you're wrong, it will come and test that area in the future as well. That's the power of these kind of imbalances. Okay, imbalance drops lower, goes and tests it, in this instance drops lower. So that's the magic of the fractal and the fact that the market has this way of repeating itself. It just never looks that way in the moment, but when you look back at it, it's like, I should have done this. So let's use that same analysis and just simplify things and say, time to act. Okay, so yes, I'll grab maybe. What I won't do, I'll do that same story. I'll $1,000, throw $300 in when we probably test these ranges or any of these support areas. Or if you want right now, you can. Okay, just remind yourself on the basis that this area needs to hold at 77, and if not, and we go lower, you wait. You're going to probably wait another 2 months before you try and do that again, because you can only be wrong 3 times. Okay, third of the third leg, fifth of the fifth, third leg, and then fifth of the leg. What do I mean by that? Any impulse move, and I'm going to Elliott wave this for you guys just to visually try and explain to you. Any impulse move, be it up or down, is a 5-wave structure. But we know there's waves within waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And these waves within waves, there's between 3 and 4, there's a massive compound effect of a lot of waves in close proximity with each other. So the argument is typically you'll have strong bearish divergence there. Then the market gives you hope in the form of a ABC correction all the way to 4. And then it goes, it completes the 1. Doesn't look that good, comes back, holds support, and then it runs again. And then you'll have divergence there. And you'll have your divergence there. So now you have a hell of a lot of divergences telling you that this thing is turning bearish, but price is still going up. And then finally you'll have your divergence there. So you can have the 3 on this one. Then you can have the big 3, the red 3 on the bigger wave, or the 3 to the 5 on the smaller wave, or then you can have the 5 to the 5, the really big one. And potentially from a bullish point of view, that is what could be happening here at the bottom. It's just too soon to tell what needs to happen for me to say, okay, that is the case. We need to get above the previous pivot, which means that's your thou shalt not cross line. And as long as we're below that, you remain bearish. You might take risk, but it doesn't mean that you're bullish yet. Makes sense? Let me know. Give me a triple. Let's make a triple 4. 4 is an underrated number. It's not being used much. Okay, let's see. Rudo, I don't have my trade guide on my Discord. My menu still looks like the old menu. okay, Dave, what you need to do if this is the case, you need to go to the Bybit, the navigation, and just go and claim your role, because if the role is not assigned to you, okay, it could potentially be that you just need the role. So claim this here so that your name in Discord will have the Bybit role behind it. And then once that is done, you have that Bybit role, you open a support ticket. So one-on-one chat with me, okay? And then we'll figure it out. See what needs to happen together to get you to have yours look that way. Simple as that. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Another 4 for good luck. Yes, to make up for the missing 9 that we had from Yuri a little bit earlier. So Vito, pump on the way and then dump at the end of the March, mid-April. I almost want to say dump now. Pump short-term, dump, short-term pump with a test of the range lows. That would be amazing. And then pump to April. Sell in May, go away. The rules, as the saying goes. And statistically, I mean, there's enough evidence to say that that is truly the case. I'm going to do this and just make this a little bigger. Sell in May, go away, April, May, BTC high is typically a really good area to move. And it's normally when stock markets and the huge hedge fund managers and, the legacy money goes away for the summer. So, they go to their vacation homes, all those stuff. So that's normally when the market, they're building now to take profit then. That's it. 245 people joining live. Thanks so much, guys. I am done for the day. Tomorrow is a public holiday, but what I will do is I will do a stream tomorrow just to get the momentum back on, on the alts, and the fact that we're in a situation where it's time to start really taking notice on the investment. And it's not like I've been, neglecting you guys on the public community side. The same happened on the investing side. There's not a lot of buying this, buying that. So any of those HODL reports, it's more of a educational system at the moment where I just kind of remind the guys of what's happening and, big picture stuff, because there's no real time. I'm not in any rush to throw money into the market right now. Okay, simple as that. That's it. Remember, guys, if you want to join my private group, or you want simple once-off payment, you're in for life. All the tools, the buddy, the bots, everything at your disposal 24/7. You trade with me, you can do whatever you want, and you're in there, because I hate the fact that I make friends with people, and then for the fact that you don't have another $50 next month, you can't be my friend, and I never chat to you again. So I'm moving away from that monthly payment model. It's just stupid. So many good people that just left. So once off, once you're in, you're in. Simple as that. Okay. Thanks so much, guys. So the long and the short, I think I've done it enough. I think I've basically talked it to death. Appreciate you guys for joining in. See you tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye, guys.